Welcome, everyone, from the campus of Notre Dame. We come to you today from the Golden Dome, the main building here on campus. It's a cloudy day, but it's about 50 degrees here. Yesterday, we celebrated Ash Wednesday on campus. The chapels were overflowing with students and faculty, staff, visitors from the community, and a great way for us to recenter ourselves in the next 40 days, to focus less with preoccupations of self, and to focus and take more time for God and service to others. So it's a great kind of centering season for all of us here associated with the Notre Dame family. And the weather cooperated. It was cold and rainy, just the way an Ash Wednesday should be around here. Last weekend, we celebrated Junior Parents Weekend. We had thousands of parents that were back on campus, and it was a wonderful celebration where our students in their junior year host back their parents and guardians and significant family members. We have two big events, noteworthy events coming up tonight here on campus. First, tomorrow is actually the 1-year anniversary of the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. And tonight at 6:15, Father John is going to lead a prayer service at the Grotto. Anybody local that can join us is more than welcome, but it's again a prayer for peace for all those who have been displaced and those who are suffering tremendous tragedy in the Ukraine. We have over 30 Ukrainian faculty from the Catholic University of Ukraine, faculty and students who are here right now on campus that are studying with us as a part of the exchange program that we have worked for those who have been displaced. And also, tonight will be the final home game for the number 10 Fighting Irish women's basketball team as they take on the Georgia Yellow Jackets. And so if you're nearby, that starts at 6 o'clock. And we hope you'll be here to, one form or another, cheer the team on to victory. So on that note, I am thrilled to welcome our special guest for today, who is in his 15th year, believe it or not, as Notre Dame's Vice President and James E. Rohr Director of Athletics, Jack Swarbrick. Jack, thanks so much for making the time to be with us today. And we have had over 90 questions that have been submitted by alumni, parents, and friends. And we're going to get to a few of them in our session today. But first of all, thank you for making the time to be here and to respond to a number of questions that are pressing with all of the change that's going on in college athletics and recent dynamics with some hirings here on campus for you to be able to speak directly to them. So let's start with
thanks for the opportunity, Lou. I really appreciate it. If I'm not mistaken, this is my third time on the Lou Nani show. So
yeah, we don't call it the Lou Nani show. It's just called the live chat. Let's be clear about that. The ratings are already bad enough. We're not trying to sink them lower.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
No, it's great to be with you always, and I love that we can talk candidly about things that are topical. So let's begin. There's been a lot of noise recently around the offensive coordinator search, and can you say a little bit about your takeaways about Coach Parker, Jared Parker, who has been named the new offensive coordinator, and how you feel about the future of the program, and in particular the offense?
Yeah. First of all, let me say I certainly understand sort of the passion that surrounded perceptions of the process. That's what drives Notre Dame athletics. It never bothers me, and I embrace that. The hardest job an athletic director can have is to try and generate passion for a program. So we love that. I thought Marcus did a great job in his comments at the press conference, sort of trying to address the misinformation and the issues that had come out. He ran a great process and screened 3 candidates, and I love where we wound up. That's not to say the other 2 weren't highly qualified and would not have been good fits at Notre Dame. That's not the case. As he said in his press conference, they made decisions for personal reasons, and we honor that and have no issue at all with that. that this took us to Coach Parker is for many of us a really great result. He understands the program. It results in us being able to move forward with the same terminology, an issue which is really big in terms of implementing game plans and offenses and defensive schemes. He understands the personnel. He is so well liked and so well regarded in the building, and he's got a great relationship with Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of that gives us an opportunity to be able to look back on this process and his selection and feel great about it.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So, Jack, it's been about a year since you appointed Marcus to be the head football coach for our program, and he's had tremendous success in the first year. Also, some difficult setbacks along the way, which is expected. What have you learned about Marcus Freeman after 1 year that you didn't know when you appointed him a year ago?
Well, you never know. You can't know for certain how someone will handle adversity. I always say I learn virtually nothing about our coaches when things are going well, but you learn a ton when you face adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And the Marshall game for me was so insightful as to who he is as a coach. Bad result, terrible result. And everyone could not have been more disappointed. But his leadership in the next 24 hours was spectacular, both with the staff and then with the players. And I'll never forget his message to the coaches, which was, if you're different on Monday than you were on Friday, you're going to lose the student athletes. They need to have confidence in you and our approach. And so we're going to go back to work, but not change who we are or what we do. And then he said something which I loved. I think it got public attention too. He said, you can't look at this game and say the issue was the player performance. You have to look at it and say the issue was our teaching of the players.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great message, right, to everyone, that we, as the adults in the program, accept the responsibility. What I've learned beyond that is he is among the most direct communicators I've ever worked with.
Mm-hmm.
I never leave a conversation with him with any doubt about his position, what he believes, what he would like to see happen. And that makes for such a great working relationship, because then my job is to make sure I'm helping him implement those things that are important to him.
You know, one of the things I've said, I met with Marcus, as you know, just a couple of days before Christmas, and I went in expressly to thank him because he's such a visible representative for Notre Dame and all that she stands for. And I just wanted to say to him that there's few people, the closer you look, the better they get. And as you get to know him more and more, he embodies the values of this university and all that Notre Dame stands for, as well as any coach or representative throughout the university I've ever met. Tell me what that means to the program and everybody's involved.
Well, Lou, I was at a presentation this morning that you gave where you sort of summed it up. Fit is everything here.
Yeah.
You have to embrace what makes Notre Dame Notre Dame, and not because it's a strategy, but because it's who you are. And if you don't believe in it, if you're not really committed to the values of this place, it's a tough place to be, hard place to work or be a student. But when you do, there's nothing like it in the world. It's such a special experience. And Marcus is an example of that.
Yeah.
He loves every day here. He loves the people he works with. He provides great leadership, but all that is just sort of fundamental to his DNA. He's not becoming somebody else because he's at Notre Dame. He's demonstrating that who he is a perfect fit with Notre Dame.
So, Jack, there's so much going on in your world. In your 15 years as athletic director, I don't know if there has been a greater rush to change on so many different fronts as you've experienced maybe in the last year, certainly in the last couple of years. It's been reported recently that that a quarterback recruit was allegedly offered $13 million in an NIL agreement. And then when it came to kind of signing the letter of intent, purportedly that deal did not come through. When you look at this mess that is NIL, and obviously it's born of good intentions to include the same rights to our student athletes as the rest of the student body has, but this seems like things have gone askew. Where do you see things moving, and what hope do you have for a better resolution going forward?
Yeah, askew is a kind description.
Yeah.
First of all, and many people have heard me say it before, we were the earliest proponents of name, image, and likeness. In a 2015 story in the New York Times, Father John advocated for extending name, image, and likeness rights to student athletes because every other student at Notre Dame had those rights.
Yeah.
And that has always been our position. We could have never foreseen that reality coming to fruition with no rules in place, no guidelines, no guidance. And so it quickly spun out of control. And stories like the one you've told are all too common. While yes, there's money changing hands and some people are benefiting from that, there are a lot of sad stories coming out of this too, because of the lack of any guidance or regulation. We understand the importance of NIL. We understand it's part of the discussion we'll have with prospective student athletes and current student athletes. And we're fully engaged. We have 4 employees that are now full-time name, image, and likeness staff for us and have various functions that they do. We're building a market. We're helping to build marketplaces to create opportunities for our student athletes. We engage in education about it. We try and encourage people to take a look at ways they can work with our student athletes. And importantly, and really a hallmark of this, has been our ability to work closely with Brady Quinn on Brady's creation of what is referred to as the Fund, Friends of the University of Notre Dame. We will never be able to thank Brady enough for what he has done out of just the goodness of his heart and his concern for Notre Dame to build this fund, a collective in the regular parlance, that fits with what Notre Dame wants to do. It wants to see an entity like this collect the resources to make opportunities available to our student athletes, but real opportunities, right? In this case, they are opportunities to be involved in promoting and marketing charitable enterprises that could never do that otherwise. They can't advertise. They don't have the resources. And so this connection gets made. Our student athletes engage with those entities. The fund makes a payment available to them for that service. Mm-hmm. So it's very Notre Dame-like. I encourage anyone who has an interest to take a look at the fund, and if you run into Brady, to thank him, because his service has been pretty extraordinary here.
So you're very much supportive of having the Notre Dame fan base support collectives like the fund to make a financial contribution if that's something that they're passionate about?
Absolutely, yeah. And especially the fund, because of my confidence in how it operates. Anybody can set something up and say it's affiliated with Notre Dame,
right?
And we don't have any control over it. This one is working so well. But yeah, look, we're trying to win national championships. We understand that we have to be in a position where student athletes view this as the sort of opportunity they want, and NIL is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, none of the other obligations go away, right? So I hope we'll have a lot of people who continue to support us through the Rockne Fund,
mm-hmm.
and Jesse Harper Council, Director Circle, great giving societies that you have set up. And we hope people will make gifts to support capital projects. We have to stay current in those as well.
So,
and lastly, sorry to interrupt. Lastly, our long-term strategy and success depends on endowing coaching positions and scholarships.
Right.
And your team has done a great job of getting more and more of that done. So when I'm the James E. Rohr Director of Athletics, it means that a very generous donor, in this case, Jim Rohr, stepped forward to endow the position.
Yeah. But as you know, we have a long way to go on all those fronts, and we're just scratching the surface. How would you say NIL is being implemented at Notre Dame in a distinctively Notre Dame way? I love how you talk about NILI around here, not just NIL, which I think does a disservice to student athletes when we just label it NIL, especially at Notre Dame. Could you highlight what are some of the ways that NIL is meant to be distinctive here at Notre Dame?
Well, it starts with trying to make sure it extends to as many interested student athletes as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, 40% of our student athletes, that's a complement of about 725 students, 40% of that total, have engaged in NIL activity.
Mm-hmm.
Some number of student athletes don't have an interest in it. They are so pressed for time that when we bring an opportunity or refer them to somebody, they'll sometimes say, no, thanks, I don't want to do that. But what we want to do is ensure that they are true transactions, not pay for play.
Yeah.
We're just not going to go there. We don't need to go there, but true transactions in which the student athlete engages in something, does something, lends their name, lends their image. But importantly, as you point out, lends their ideas, lends their intellectual firepower.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our most interesting NILI opportunities right now surround the launching of businesses,
Mm-hmm.
where a young person has an idea, patentable technology, or a new company, and we have a way to help them develop that, as well as decide to do a photo shoot for somebody.
Mm-hmm. So again, I want to echo your words, and I want to thank Brady for being the face of the fund and being such an exemplary role model, as a Notre Dame alumnus and a former student athlete. And the way that he's embraced this, it's a great way for people to step up and support our student athletes through the fund, in addition to several other ways. So I got a few questions here that come from folks that are hopefully viewing this session right now. The first question is from Ed Ziegler. Ed is from the Notre Dame class of 1970, and he's a former Notre Dame running back on the Fighting Irish team. He's from Castle Pines, Colorado, and he says there are probably over 1,000 former Notre Dame football players. And in view of the potential health benefits of past, present, and future Notre Dame student athletes, has Notre Dame supported the independent Notre Dame football medical research project? Could you say a little bit about what that project is and what role Notre Dame institutionally is playing in that?
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be able to. This is such an exciting development. On their own initiative, Ed and other former football players created an opportunity through Boston University to conduct research on the health experience of former Notre Dame football players. And the first phase of that study was completed last year, had a lot of very interesting findings that illuminate some of the issues that former football players have, some of the ways, frankly, in which they fare better than the average person. But all of it really interesting, exceptionally well done, Boston University. And again, couldn't be prouder of the fact that Notre Dame's football alums have done this on their own initiative. We fully support it. We have taken the opportunity. I think I found 5 separate occasions where we published things about it. We use our communication to the legacy network, former football players, to call attention to it. We have passed the Friends of Notre Dame football materials out at gatherings of alums. There are 2 ways in which we haven't and can't support it. The first is we can't specifically endorse the research. We didn't participate in it. Our researchers weren't part of it. So while we can call attention to it, we can't directly be involved and put our name on it, for example. The second is, and Lou, it's a policy you know well from a university perspective, we don't share mailing list either directly or indirectly. We don't give it to somebody, nor do we invite somebody to give us materials that we'll send to them.
Yeah.
And so those have been the only limitations. And I know there's a perception among some that we're not supportive, and that just isn't true. I'm very proud that many of my classmates are involved in this, and I think it's producing great results. There's a second phase now where they want to gather more data for more football alums, and I hope it's successful.
Fantastic. The next question is from Joe Jansen, class of 60. He's a member of our Batten Guild, and he's from Fort Myers, Florida. Our NBC contract expires in 2025. What is your goal for the new deal?
Well, the first goal, whether it's, I hope we're talking to NBC because we have an opportunity to do that right now, but what we need from our media partner that NBC has done so well historically is to A, broadcast us nationally every game, and B, give us an opportunity to promote Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. What would you fight for ads are a great example. No one else is getting 90-second PSAs. Mm-hmm. The opportunity to just see campus and the way they cover our games and helps people understand more about Notre Dame. So that's number one, a sort of committed partner to our message and conveying about Notre Dame. Secondly, we need the financial resources to compete with the schools in the Big Ten and the SEC. Mm-hmm. And that's a given here that as we enter into new negotiations, we have a very specific goal of making sure we reach those levels because we want to compete.
When you look at the climate, do you feel encouraged by how these discussions might play out?
I am encouraged. I think that one of the reasons to be encouraged is that everybody who does a broadcast agreement today, the NFL or anybody, understands that part of their inventory will be streamed as opposed to carried on regular television. And NBC with Peacock is a great streaming partner. And so we found that out with the games we've done already, and we look forward to continuing to work with Peacock. But you have to have that component. So they have it. And we have such a long relationship, right? It goes back so long, and it's so important to both companies. And then lastly, I feel especially good with their Big Ten partnership because we are better if they have more college football inventory. There'll be cross promotion, and it'll create a better environment. So as opposed to being very limited football inventory on NBC, we're now part of a much larger package.
Fantastic. The next question is from David Wassinger, a Notre Dame parent and member of Father John's President's Circle from St. Louis, Missouri. What is the latest on conference realignment and Notre Dame's independence versus joining a conference?
Well, there's a lot of attention right now on the Pac-12's media rights discussion, and a lot of speculation that if that doesn't go well, there may be another phase of realignment here, perhaps with some Pac-12 schools moving elsewhere. I don't know if that's the case, but it is a very hot topic right now, and there's a lot of speculation surrounding it. I've never felt better about our independent status, both its value to the university and our ability to maintain it. The expansion of the college football playoff, 12-team playoff with 6 at-large positions, gives us a fair opportunity to get into the postseason. The opportunity to have a committed broadcast partner, like I just discussed, gives us an opportunity to stay independent. And finally, there's the question of whether we can build the schedules we need to build. And that has never been an issue, and it's not now. I've yet to place a phone call to a colleague and ask if they were interested in playing where they didn't say yes. So we have all the ingredients. Frankly, it's a great time to be independent, and we're going to take full advantage of it.
With the new college football playoff situation that you were in many ways the architect behind and played a really critical role in bringing everybody together on that, we could be playing football games at home on the third week of December. What would you have to do to get Notre Dame ready for such an occurrence?
We have some experience. We hosted the Winter Classic, for example, the NHL.
Yeah.
We learned a lot from that, but it starts with the playing surface. We'd have to heat the playing surface
Okay.
to make sure it was adequately safe for the participants. There are most of the rest of what we'd have to focus on relates to mechanical issues, if you will, making sure concession stands can be open without pipes freezing and restrooms. And so there'll be a lot of that sort of work, which will be required. The rest of it, we're in good shape.
Great. Fantastic. This question is from Paul T. Smith, another member of Notre Dame's class of 1960 from Stuart, Florida. And he says, why would our partner, the ACC, go 2 years scheduling buys before football games with Notre Dame?
We all control our buys. So if you're in a conference, you're identifying for the conference your preferences. We control ours. I mean, you go back and look over the schedules in the past 15 years, you probably have USC say, how come Notre Dame always gets to schedule a bye before we visit them? So it's less the conference, right, than the schools making individual choices based on what they anticipate the schedule being. A lot of us schedule the bye around fall break. Students aren't on campus.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that people were seeking a competitive advantage when they placed the bye the week before they played us, but this year we don't have that challenge. Right? For the most part, every one of our opponents has a game the week before. So we have the same opportunity other schools do. I don't have any problem with it. And in fact, I think this year is indicative that we'll see less of it in the future.
Okay, so this question is from a Notre Dame law grad, class of 1986 from Sarasota, Florida. Any word on the men's basketball head coach search? Do you think we can attract a great candidate?
I do. I'm in the middle of it right now. It's a little challenging to be engaged in the search during the season, and so I'm careful not to be distracting other coaches. I'm talking to agents principally or friends of these coaches that we have an interest in. So takes a little more time when you're doing it in this window, but we've made great progress. And the simple answer to the question is we can absolutely attract a great coach. We have great facilities. I think our practice facility is the best in the country. We have a perfect arena. The ACC is a great conference, a great basketball conference, and I think a conference with some potential opportunity. As Coach K's moved on and Coach Williams and eventually some other coaches in that conference, I think there's a chance to build your position in the ACC. And of course, the school represents everything a lot of coaches are looking for. So I am absolutely certain we're going to be able to attract a really good coach, and we'll need one because we're replacing the winningest coach in Notre Dame basketball history and a guy I have loved working with during my time here.
Fantastic. Is it the offensive line position on the football side? Is that, there may be more to be announced, but is that the one that's still in play right now that you're focused on? And do you feel equally like there's going to be really good candidates for that role?
Yeah, feel really good. 3 sort of first-tier candidates have been identified. And, we'll see how that process goes, but really encouraged by the quality of those candidates. And that's a process that I think will move fairly quickly. Although less attention is drawn to it, we're also going to look for, we are also in the process of looking for a person to sort of lead the whole personnel side of the player process, recruiting, development, sort of a general manager for roster purposes.
So would that be a new role, Jack?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It'll help bring a lot of different pieces together that sort of aren't necessarily connected as well as they should be right now.
So including the NILI piece, will that report up to this new person?
No, but they'll be an important conduit for it.
Okay.
They'll be a real resource inside the building. Dave Poloquin, one of the 4 employees I mentioned earlier, is the principal NILI liaison to the football team.
Got it. Okay, fantastic. So I have just one final question. It seems like so much of the news around intercollegiate athletics, especially at the Division I level, it seems like it's moving in the wrong direction on a macro level. Do you still feel bullish about college sports, and especially college sports at Notre Dame? And if so, why?
Yes, I do. And I do because it's too good. It's too valuable to not find a way forward. We were overdue for some of this change. And frankly, we have nobody to blame but ourselves as the college sports industry in that it unfolded in such a messy way. But, second only to the GI Bill, college athletics has allowed more people to attend college and gain a degree than anything else. The lessons learned, you and I know well, teamwork, leadership, grit, that are part of the education you get in football or basketball or swimming or whatever are just amazing. I've used the example before, but when our student athlete alums come back and visit with me, and I ask them, who had the greatest influence on you in your time at Notre Dame? I will almost always get a coach as the answer. And that's not to say they weren't greatly influenced by professors or their rectors or others, but that relationship with the coach for 4 years, 5 in some instances, is so important. So, long-winded way of saying there's too much good here to not continue. And the way it builds community for Notre Dame, right? Your efforts are enhanced by the fact that our family gathers 7 times a year. So we'll find a way forward. We've got a mess. We need help from a number of sources, but we'll get there. Our principal focus right now is to try and avoid a situation where our student athletes are declared employees. We don't want them to be separated from the rest of the student body. We want them to be part of it, and we fear the designation of employees, which is being pursued in a number of legal actions, would undermine that.
Yeah. Well, there's some hope on the horizon, and I agree with you that there's too much good in all of this for it to be ruined, and hopefully common sense will prevail in the end. And I want to thank you, Jack, in a very personal and general way as an alum also of this university, for the way that you've worked to preserve Notre Dame's distinctiveness within this world of higher education, and how Notre Dame, I know you've talked about this, maybe you can close on this note. How can Notre Dame serve as a leader, not out of pride, but with all humility? How can we help to lead through this morass?
Yeah, that's a great question. And shame on us if we don't, right? I mean, this is our version of what would you fight for? Well, we're fighting for college athletics continuing to be integrated into the academic environment of our university and continue to be based upon the values that we believe in. And we're going to fight for that. And we're only one school in a massive association, but we have an obligation. It's not hubris to say Notre Dame should stake out a position. It's what we do. And we will increasingly be doing that in the weeks ahead, because Father John and I both think all of this is at a bit of a critical juncture.
Well, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your 15 years of service and counting. And I can't think of a better way to end this session than we always do, with a prayer to Our Lady. Please join in wherever you are. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Please join us next week. We'll be joined with Marcus Cole, the Dean of our law school. And Jack, thanks again. Take care. God bless, and go Irish.
Be Irish.